that indeed we need innovation. It is not time for, oh, God will help us. By the grace of God, Nigeria will be better. Our health sector is going to be better. I think we know better now. We know that it won't be any better because you say by the grace of God. It will not be better. Let me sound that way. All right. It's only when you do something. That's why we always spotlight innovative ways of bringing solutions to some of the problems that we face as a people. And healthcare and access to healthcare is one of them. And that's where our guest comes in. His name is Jay, or they call him Jay Chikeze. He is, like I mentioned, who he is, our guest right now. He joins us live via Skype on the other side. How are you doing, Mr. Jay? Good to have you.
Thank you. Great being here.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Good to have you. I mean, I'm always inspired when I see an individual who is passionate about, bringing solutions, because, beyond business, the idea is to bring solutions. And of course, that's where the business is in the first place. But I'm always passionate about this. What exactly got you to want to play space? Give us a bit of a background.
So a little background about me. I went to Ebonyi State University about 20 years ago.
All right.
I started studying medicine, and I failed out. It's always interesting when I say I failed out of medicine. I failed out in my first year.
Wow.
And so when it started, it was disappointing for me, because that's what I wanted to become. I wanted to become a doctor. And I eventually graduated with microbiology. I felt a bit that my parents were disappointed. I was disappointed in myself, and but I didn't know that God was forging path for me, I guess. And but that interest was still there, because I also have friends who I like to say were smarter than me, graduated as doctors. We kept in touch, and I always wanted to know what was happening in the medical space. 2011, I got into technology, not as a programmer, but as a business person. And then in 2015, I started my first company called NairaBox. In 2015.
Wow.
So when I got into technology, something happened. My first son was diagnosed with enlarged adenoids. And what this does, it affects him. He always had a cold. And what happens is at night he doesn't breathe properly, he gets stuffy nose. And imagine a 6-month-old baby going through that. As young parents, we were quite concerned. But I was privileged enough, because my network of doctors, to have a doctor at beck and call that I could call to say this is what's going on, But sometimes doctors are not available. I would have to drive 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, because we're scared. And then we'll get to the hospital to see a doctor. And, that kept happening daily. And I was... So the solution to how to relieve him, we knew. I mean, my wife and I. But at the same time, because we were young parents, it was our first child. We're always very skeptical, trying to treat, with what we knew was the solution. And we were saying, no, we need the doctor to tell us, exactly what it was. And that got me thinking. I was like, okay, I'm privileged to have these doctors, at my disposal. But there are millions of Nigerians who don't, who probably have the same problem that I'm facing, and, can't get access to a doctor at 2 a.m. in the morning. And the next hospital close to them is like far away. They would have to risk their lives to drive to the hospital. And that got me thinking. Because I'd already got into technology, it hit me, and I said, okay, maybe we should start a solution where could aggregate licensed doctors on the platform, so that we can give people access to doctors, and that's what gave birth to a Tremendoc today.
Tremendoc, indeed. Wow, really inspiring story, and hope your son is good now.
Oh yes, he had surgery a year later. He's fine.
Oh, fantastic to know. Okay, guys, telemedicine is what we're talking about, and we do have a special guest right here. Well, I'll call him in complete, Uguku Chikeze, the founder and CEO of Tremendoc Limited, and we're talking telemedicine indeed. Now, according to research conducted by the organization, telemedicine happens to be a term that was coined in the 1970s, which means healing at a distance, of course. And it is based on this meaning that experts of the world define telemedicine as a delivery of healthcare services where patients and providers are separated by distance. Hence, it is right to say that telehealth general, it's hinged on the use of ICT for the exchange of information for diagnosis and treatment of disease and injuries. Now, research and evaluation and for continuing education of health professionals. So, it is based on the drop that we're having this conversation today. Now, just tell you a few things. The worth of telemedicine across the world, according to verified market research, that's a global health market across the world, are valued at $21.7 billion. That's at 2019. And right now it's increasing, it's getting even more and more. So it tells you how important this conversation is. So let me turn to my guest now. What would you say is the role of telemedicine across the world? Let's start from there.
The role is very, very significant. Technology is taking the entire sector, not just healthcare, every other sector into a different, a new dimension. And telemedicine definitely cannot be ignored. I mean, we saw it during the pandemic where there was total global shutdown, lockdown across the world.
That's right.
And everybody was educated to how important telemedicine is. Let me come to Africa. The standard WHO doctor to patient ratio is 1 to 600 patient, one doctor to 600 patients. In Nigeria, as of 2017, it was 1 doctor to 6,000 patients, and I can tell you that statistics has really gone downhill. I mean, we have some states who have
one doctor to 6,000 patients.
Oh, right now we have some states who have 1 doctor to 15,000 patients. We have some 1 doctor to 30,000 patients in this country. So what's the solution? The problem there is that a lot of doctors, maybe they graduate from school, work a little bit here in Nigeria. They start writing exams to work abroad because they're not paid properly here in Nigeria. And you wouldn't blame them. I mean, they have families to fend for, and not after going to school for 10 years. And medicine, doctors are really respected all around the world and paid, appropriate. So a lot of them are traveling to the US, to America, to Saudi Arabia and all that. And so we have a huge problem in Nigeria. We have a lot of doctors, oozing out and going to other developed countries. So that causes a scarcity of doctors in Nigeria. And that's why we get to see long queues in the hospitals and all that. And then how does telemedicine solve this problem? In two ways. Telemedicine bridges that gap. Between the long gap between doctor one and patient
that ratio,
because what happens is with Tremendo, for instance, we have doctors who are sitting in Calabar and consulting patients in Niger State, in Nasarawa State, in Lagos. Have doctors in Lagos doing the same thing with patients in Enugu, in Akwa Ibom. So gives them access to patients that they really, reach or consult with. Gives them, a whole wide range of different diseases that are particular to different regions, right? So we're slowly bridging that gap. I still believe that we're still scratching the surface. We haven't even scratched the surface yet. And then at the end, the doctors also have, extra perks from, working, consulting with patients. So that adds to what they get from their primary assignment as well. So that's what telemedicine is doing, and there's a whole lot more telemedicine can do.
All right, so there's this, because I won't sound like I'm speaking. I mean, this we're in this same society. We know how we think, all of us. So there's always this thing of this one, the doctor is just talking on phone, or he's just speaking to me on this. Is it the same thing? What if? So how receptive you are at the forefront? So how receptive do you think Nigerians are towards the usage of telemedicine? Do people still prefer? Let me go to that hospital. I want to see that doctor. Let me go there. What's the receptiveness like?
So culturally, Nigeria, that's been the biggest problem in telemedicine here in Nigeria, and I think across the world, because I was speaking to a doctor in Canada who is Canadian, and we were having a conversation about telemedicine, and that was the first thing he said. It was like, especially GPs, that general practitioners, they need to physically examine these patients. How does that work? And I was trying to educate him how it works. So it's a general problem, but I think it's more here in Africa because culturally we're used to, walking into a hospital and getting physically examined. What I say to people, the first thing I say is that almost everybody who has access to a doctor, whether that doctor is a brother, a sister, an auntie, an uncle, a dad, has practiced medicine at one point in their life. So it's funny when people say, how does this work? So I usually say, have you ever been on the phone with your uncle who is or your dad who is a doctor and say, Daddy, this is how I'm feeling, and your dad will say, oh, so where's the pain, and can you touch your tummy? How is that hurting you? Can you do this? Can you do that? And your dad says, okay, you know what, go get these drugs, try it. After 3 days, let's see what happens. If not, you will probably go run a test and do that. At that point, like you define telemedicine is remote consultation. At that point, you have practiced telemedicine. You have taken advantage of telemedicine. So what we are doing is, for those who do not have uncles, aunties, dads, or maybe their dads and moms are not available at the time and they urgently want to speak to a doctor for whatever reason, you know, you have access to a doctor. You're carrying a doctor in your pocket. As far as you have a smartphone or you signed up to a service and you can make a phone call, then get through to a doctor via us. And this will bring me to what happened about 2 weeks ago when the curfew was imposed in Lagos State, where something amazing happened. A woman called, a pregnant woman called, and she was in labor, and she couldn't leave the house. It was around 12 midnight. She was with her husband. There was a curfew, and this was at the peak of the curfew. And they were afraid of going out, and they reached out. They were calling different friends, like, how can you help us? And then someone, you know, referred them to Tremendoc, and immediately they signed up. And our doctor was able, or one of the doctors on Tremendoc was able to manage, you know, her labor throughout the night, you know, all through the night till early hours in the morning when they were able to take her to the hospital. And she gave birth successfully that day. You know, so this is one of the advantages of what Tremendoc is doing, you know, in Nigeria. In doing things, I always say it's always easier and it's preferable when you have access to a professional than when you don't at all.
Now, considering the gaps in our medical sector, I mean, you mentioned that ratio. It's scary. It's scary. Like, you know, the recommendation is 1:600, and we're talking about 1 to an average of 7,000 or 6,000 and more. That's quite scary. That means we have a big problem in our hands, and people probably will be losing their lives just because they do not have access to simple information from a doctor or a medical practitioner. Now, considering this gap, how do you think that the advent of this will fill the loopholes now in Nigeria? Because Tremendoc is doing great. How many of such we have, or do we need to be able to fill this loophole that we have? How would you respond to that question?
Okay, so what we are doing for Tremendoc, I don't know what any other platform is
but
doing.
do we have do you think we have enough?
Yeah, I think healthcare is human life. I think at some point everybody needs the service. So it's just like telco. We have so many telcos. I mean, phone conversations using the networks. We have telcos, and I think that a lot more can still come up, and then they will still have a market share. So
what are you doing? What are you doing to bridge this gap and this loophole?
So
Let's hear
what
your story.
We're doing currently is we're going into a lot of partnerships. We're going from the corporates to the HMOs. We're currently the official telemedicine platform, Answer, and you know, we're working with, especially the financial institutions. We have partnerships, you know, with at least 4 banks. We're currently conversations with the federal government and the state governments as well. We're already about to sign with about these state governments where we are digitalizing hospitals. We're also digitalizing primary health centers, because we have a lot of primary healthcare centers, especially in the rural areas in Nigeria, across Nigeria. And these facilities don't have doctors. They usually have nurses or medical attendants in there. So what we're doing is we're providing, you know, access, you know, through telemedicine, where people are able to consult via video call with doctors. And these doctors are sitting in the urban areas, or sitting in Lagos or Abuja, or even in the urban area in that state, right? And some of them don't want to go to the rural areas to work. They're enough in the urban areas. So what is that they're able to have few consultations with these doctors. With this, we're trying to bridge that gap slowly, and I think that we're getting there.
All right, great. I love that you mentioned video consultation, because of the medicine has moved from, as technology evolves, the more we have, you know, real-time conversations beyond just mobile, the better for telemedicine, right? Now, I'm happy that you mentioned government. So, what do you think? That will be my last question before we get to a wrap up. What do you think the government could do in order to assist make telemedicine a success, a major success in Nigeria? I would like to write to the government already, but if you're going to suggest to the governor is listening now, he could be listening because he listens. So, what would you say, and how would you suggest the government could do things in order to assist making telemedicine a success here in Nigeria?
I believe that a partnership is the most important thing, and that's what we've been trying to do. There are a lot of structures that the government has available to them, right? And these structures, and I think first and foremost, I think people in the government need to take telemedicine seriously. It's the future. It's the quickest way to solve our issues. We're not replace hospitals, but what we're saying that doctors are not enough. So let's be an arm to help that industry, and we're doing that. We're providing real-time data. Tremendous does over 60,000 consultations in less than in less than 8 months. That's amazing, and that's without any kind of rigorous, aggressive marketing or anything. We show that there's a need for this service. So we need the government to come partner with us, and let's see how their primary healthcare centers out there is really effective even getting because if they're available to fill up spaces. But we have a solution where doctors can be available and don't have to be there physically. Right? And it's better than have those there at all.
Great. I mean, K consultations. That's a lot. And I particularly was touched by you talked about a pregnant woman who called in, and the 2 weeks ago you say, and then of course got safe delivery because he access to a doctor, and that's really important. Do you think that telemedicine is a threat to conventional hospitals? Just saying.
Not at all. We actually partner with hospitals currently.
Okay.
We have Lagoon hospitals on Tremendok. Okay. We have a couple of hospitals we're speaking to. We're partners. We're just some of what they're doing.
To help.
So exactly. We're not here to replace at all. Okay. I mean, we don't have a follow-up culture in Nigeria. So what we say to hospitals is, when your doctors are consulting, after 3 days that they've undergone the treatment, some of these people are coming to the hospitals to see the doctors. They'll be out. And follow up, the doctor will follow up doing telemedicine, right? And they can have their bill call, they check the swell, they check all this, and then give recommendations again. So we're partners.
Fantastic. Now let me bring us in the points about. I'm going to ask you, Lagos. Have you ever used telemedicine to have access to healthcare service? Now, I need you to call and say, yes, I have. This deal happened. If you ever, why haven't you? I'll ask you to get your opinion. 0700 993 990. 0700 993 993. Let's hear what Nigerians say as far as this is concerned. Have you used telemedicine before? Like, have you ever called the doctor, my tummy is paining. Doctor says, check your belly, check this side. Is it okay? Check this way, and you get, let's find out. I have done it a billion times. I count. I didn't even know I was doing telemedicine. What's up, Lagos? Good morning.
Also Lagos.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Daniel.
Daniel, it's telemedicine. Have you heard of it before? Have you ever tried it?
No, I haven't tried.
So you when you're sick, you go to the hospital straight, or how do you do it?
I don't always fall sick.
You fall sick? You're a strong man, powerful guy. What's up, Lagos? Good morning. We have another call here. Hello, good morning. Hello. What's up, Lagos? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome. What's your name? Are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Demola from Ireland.
All right, Demola, let's talk.
Yeah, this is, in fact, this first time I'm hearing of something like this. I never knew it exists at all.
Wow.
So this is a very good one for me. Because I can get this information to help myself.
Absolutely.
I never knew something like this exists at all in Nigeria.
It does exist.
It's a very good one.
Great to know. Wow. Most Nigerians don't even know that there's such option. How does that make you feel?
More conversation, more talk, more.
Yeah, well, like I said, we've not done any kind of aggressive marketing, and platforms like this, amazing. And I want to say thank you.
All
and
right.
for those who don't know, Tremendok is TREMENDOC, available on the Play Store, Apple Store. You can chat, have audio, and call with a doctor 24/7 anytime.
Thank you. Yeah. We have to go. Our time is fast spent indeed. Thank you so much for speaking with Jay. He is the CEO of Tremendok. Indeed, you heard it. You could find more information on that. Thank you for your time indeed. Have a splendid day and enjoy all the best. Needing a doctor seat, so I'll just call you. Tremendous.
No
Thank you.
problem.
Absolutely. God bless you.
All right, take care. Have a day.
And you too. Guys, that's it for Talk Conversation today. We go on a break. Back, we'll wrap up the show indeed. Learned something new. Hope you were inspired by the conversation. My name is Collins. Teke. We'll be right back.
Every day, someone has a chance to be a winner.
Really?
Really? Yes! 50,000 naira every week on Just a Minute Game Show.